My connection with Emily started back in our university years, when our lives first crossed paths. At the outset, I never pictured her as the person I'd share a lifetime with. She was quiet, blending into the background, almost unnoticed in a group. Her timidity and lack of self-assurance meant most people overlooked her entirely. Truthfully, my initial attraction to her was shallow, rooted more in passing whims than true devotion. But then, something extraordinary unfolded. Emily began to transform. It started gradually. She signed up for a gym membership, refreshed her style with new clothes, and became a frequent visitor to the hairdresser. In what seemed like a fleeting moment, she emerged as a confident, striking woman who drew eyes wherever she went. I'll admit, I felt a swell of pride, as though her metamorphosis was somehow tied to my influence. My friends would rib me, saying I'd won her heart when she was still unassuming, joking about the private moments I'd supposedly guided her through, things not discussed in polite circles. Yet, Emily was more than just beautiful. She was compassionate, fiercely loyal, and brimming with vitality. It wasn't long before I realized no one else could hold my attention. She became my entire world. After graduation, I proposed, and soon we welcomed our daughter into our family. Our marriage felt effortless, grounded in a bedrock of absolute trust. I never doubted her faithfulness. Emily poured her soul into our home, tending to our daughter with boundless love, filling our lives with warmth and happiness. When our little one was at preschool, Emily managed our household with remarkable finesse. While many of our peers' relationships faltered, ours stood firm. Friends often inquired about the secret to our enduring bond, but we had no grand formula, just mutual adoration and respect for each other's autonomy. Eventually, we bought a house and took on the weight of a mortgage. To lighten the financial load, Emily started working at a company staffed mostly by women. She'd return home exhausted, venting about workplace deceit, rumors, and unending drama. I listened with empathy, encouraging her to carve out time for herself. Sometimes, I'd plan getaways for her and our daughter to enjoy together. Even though it left me feeling a touch lonely, I believed she deserved those moments of reprieve. Over time, her grumbling about work subsided, and she seemed more content. Her office began throwing holiday gatherings, and the friction among her co-workers appeared to ease. One winter, just before the new year, she mentioned an upcoming work party. I didn't think twice. She deserved a night to relax. That evening, she slipped into a striking black dress, short enough to catch my eye. With a teasing grin, she reminded me I'd picked it out for her on a shopping spree. I couldn't deny it. She looked breathtaking. Her beauty had only grown richer with time, earning admiring looks wherever she went. Since her workplace was predominantly female, I had no worries about who might be at the event. I kissed her farewell, told her to have fun, but asked her to be home by 10 p.m. She nodded, assuring me she'd stick to the plan, though I gave her some leeway, saying she could stay until 11 o'clock if she was enjoying herself. After she left, I helped our daughter with her homework, glancing at the clock now and then. Precisely at 10 o'clock, Emily called to say the party was a success, and everyone was having a blast. I was happy for her and gently reminded her of the curfew, but I wasn't worried. Yet, when 11 o'clock came and went with no sign of her, a pang of unease settled in my chest. This wasn't like Emily. She was always punctual, always reliable. I called her phone repeatedly, but there was no answer. My concern turned to irritation. Where was she? Who was she with? After putting our daughter to bed, I sat in the dark, staring at my phone, my mind racing with grim possibilities. At 2 a.m., my phone finally lit up. It was Emily, her speech slurred, scolding me for calling so often. She was clearly drunk, far beyond a mild buzz. In the background, I heard men's voices, distinct and unsettling. My stomach twisted. I insisted she come home immediately. Her response was a reckless, intoxicated laugh that sparked anger within me. I yelled, loud enough to accidentally wake our daughter. I had no choice but to hang up and wait, hoping she'd return soon. The hours crawled by. At 5 a.m., she called again, saying she was taking a taxi. I'd been glued to the window for hours by then. 30 minutes later, I saw her step out of a sleek, luxurious car. Definitely not a cab. It was obvious it belonged to some man she'd spent the night with. She stumbled up the steps, barely able to stand, completely disheveled. When I opened the door, my heart plummeted. She looked wrecked, her hair tangled, her stockings torn, her makeup smeared across her face. She appeared used, handled with disregard. In a mix of shock and fury, I gently pushed her back, and that's when I noticed it. A glaring hickey on her neck, bold and undeniable. I demanded explanations, but she was too intoxicated to form coherent sentences, muttering only, "I was just having a good time." That was her defense. Our daughter, awakened again by the noise, stood nearby, frightened. I kept her away from Emily, shielding her from seeing her mother in such a state. Emily didn't even register our daughter's presence. She staggered to the bathroom, locked the door, and collapsed. She slept through the entire next day while I sat alone, consumed by self-reproach. Hadn't I encouraged her to let go? Desperate for advice, I called my mother, who had always cherished Emily, calling her the perfect spouse. But when I recounted the night's events, even she was at a loss for words. Her counsel was blunt. File for divorce immediately. That afternoon, I went to the courthouse and started the paperwork. When I returned, Emily was awake, looking shattered, remorseful, and frantic. I asked her one question. "Did you betray me?" She nodded, then fell to her knees, weeping, begging for forgiveness. "It was meaningless," she said. But in that moment, she was no longer my partner, just a stranger who had broken my trust. She knew my stance on infidelity, yet she crossed that boundary. All I felt was revulsion. I refused to listen to her justifications. The final blow came later when our daughter, just 10 years old, told me she wanted to live with me after the divorce. She'd witnessed enough and made her decision. I was relieved. I didn't want her growing up around Emily after this. Soon after, I packed our belongings and moved with my daughter to a new city. We settled into a new home, and she adapted quickly, making friends with ease and showing no signs of longing for our old life. As for Emily, from the little I hear, she's still wandering, drifting from one man to another, chasing fleeting excitement as if nothing happened. That's the path she chose. For me, I've moved on, dedicating myself to raising my daughter and forging a new future. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated, feel free to share it. Take care of yourself and those you cherish.